Hey guys, I missed you latchkey kids. You're getting a little bit of a preview of my little setup for my 12 days of Christmas. I'm gonna take a little detour because someone decided it would be a great idea to release a Leprechaun movie in December. Shout out to Jen's Reviews from the Grave and The Boy, because if I hadn't seen them post their review, I wouldn't even have known that this movie came out. There was zero marketing or advertising done. They just popped it on us like a Beyonce album. The funny thing is I actually had this marked on my calendar for release in March of 2019. Because originally that's when they said they were going to release it, and that makes more sense because it would have kind of lined up with St. Patrick's Day. Speaking of St. Patrick's Day, shout out to my Philly people that show up to Kavanaugh's at 8 a.m. to celebrate St. Patrick's Day all day until closing. That was really kind of a culture shock thing to me because in my hometown, they didn't really do much for St. Patrick's Day. Like they might, I shouldn't say they didn't do much. I mean, they would have celebrations and they would have traditional Irish step dancing, traditional Irish food, that type of thing. But it was more of a celebration of culture rather than the whole partying thing. So when I was invited by one of my cousins that she was, at the time she was in grad school at Drexel University, and she invited me to come down for the weekend to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. And I thought, well, I had no problem driving the Jersey Turnpike from New Haven to Philadelphia, but I did not know what was in store when I got there. You guys in Philadelphia do St. Patrick's Day way different. Maybe they do it like that in New York also, but I'd never gone, number one, I've never been to a bar in the morning, much less 8 a.m., much less see a crowd, a line of people waiting to get in the bar at 8 a.m. just to get a table and to stay there until closing. And then, oh, there was some weird stuff going on. There were people that came dressed as Easter Bunny, which made no sense because it's St. Patrick's Day, like at least dressed like a leprechaun or something. But that was weird. There was also this really weird dude that was going from table to table and drinking the discarded beer. Like if there was like a little bit of beer left in the pitcher, he would like go around and drink it. But then he got even nastier because he would find glasses. Like if someone left their glass there and it was like maybe that much beer left in it, he would drink that too. And it's like, buddy, you're walking around drinking people's backwash. But I digress. Oh, there was one other thing. Karaoke. I sang karaoke before in Connecticut, but people usually just sit there and watch you and maybe they'll tap their foot. In Philadelphia, the whole bar sings with you. I was sitting, can you imagine like 150, 200 drunk people singing Cyndi Lauper's Time After Time? It was fun. Now let's talk about the new Leprechaun movie, which when I saw the teaser for, I didn't put a lot of stock into it because there was this other thing that happened around 2014, which shall remain nameless, that was a complete catastrophe. So I didn't want to put a whole lot of stock in how good this movie would be or how bad. I just was going to check it out just for, you know, the sake of this channel, but I didn't really put a whole lot of stock into it. However, I was pleasantly surprised. From the giddy up, this movie hits us up with some really great practical effects. There's something about the way this was shot that kind of reminded me of Jeepers Creepers, especially at the beginning, the way the shots were executed, especially the scenes where the college student was getting a ride out to the house. They brought back one of the original characters from the first Leprechaun movie, and one thing I do notice is that they did change him a little bit. In the original, he was portrayed as having a cognitive impairment. It's not cool to play something like that for laughs anymore, and honestly probably never was cool to play that for laughs. So his character no longer exhibits that type of behavior, and I think that's an improvement. The college student Layla is actually the daughter of Jennifer Aniston's character from the original Leprechaun, and she's on her way out to this house to help her college friends with a project. Well, actually they are a newly formed sorority. Each of the girls is semi-interesting. There's this really super pretty black girl named Katie, and she pretty much is portraying the stereotypical stuck-up sorority girl type character, and she started out being extremely annoying, but then she kind of softened and became more likable as the movie progressed. She's also the only black girl I've ever seen not be able to jump. Layla, our main character, her backstory actually had a purpose, and I liked how she played the character. She had pretty good comedic timing, and she played her character with little camp and not completely straight. The last two girls were polar opposites of each other. One was a more straight-laced, conscientious type student, and the other one was more of a laid-back alcoholic. Eventually, two guys show up with the laid-back girl, and one of them is into filmmaking, and the other one is just a horn dog who's in a low-key toxic relationship with Katie. Let's get to the nuts and bolts of this. The way the Leprechaun came back was very cool. I like the way that was executed, and I gotta admit, I was very skeptical about anyone else playing the Leprechaun besides Warwick Davis. But I have to admit that this actor did alright. His accent was a little bit hit or miss, and he did have a different physicality than Warwick Davis. I actually kind of missed Warwick's bow-legged fast walk. However, he was able to jump more and be a little bit more physically active. I mean, this actor is also WWE wrestler, so he came into the gate being more athletic. And just like any classic Leprechaun movie, there were some really funny lines. At one point, Layla knocks his block off with a book, and as he's halfway decapitated, he says, you give good head. I don't know, that shouldn't be funny, but I guess it's just my sense of humor. I thought that was funny. There's also a line about a golden shower. It's out of context, but when you know the context of a golden shower, it makes the line funnier. But the best line in the movie is when at one point one character runs out of the house and tells another character there's a leprechaun in the house, and the other character is just like, it's probably just a crackhead that got a hold to the wrong stuff. That's only funny if you've seen this clip.
Well, just in time for St. Patrick's Day, crowds are coming by the dozens to get an up-close view at what some say is a piece of Irish folklore.
Some people in the Crichton area of Mobile say a leprechaun is taking up residence in their neighborhood. A leprechaun. NBC 15's Brian Johnson has more.
Curiosity leads to large crowds in Mobile's Crichton community, many of you bringing binoculars, camcorders, even camera phones to take pictures.
To me, it look like a leprechaun to me. All I gotta do is look up in the tree. Who else seen the leprechaun? Say yeah!
Eyewitnesses say the leprechaun only comes out at night. If you shine a light in its direction, it suddenly disappears. This amateur sketch resembles what many of you say the leprechaun looks like. Others find it hard to believe and have come up with their own theories and explanations for the image.
My theory is it's casting a shadow from the other limb.
Could be a crackhead that got hold to the wrong stuff, and it told him to get up in a tree and play a leprechaun.
We're going to get down to the bottom of this. Yeah, it's still on there, guy. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid, man.
This guy helping to direct traffic says he's prepared for his encounter with the leprechaun. He's suited up from head to toe.
This wars off spells right here. This is a special leprechaun flute, which has been passed down from thousands of years ago from my great-great-grandfather who was Irish. I just came to help out.
Others just came to get lucky in hopes a pot of gold may be buried under this tree.
I'm going to run a backhoe and uproot that tree. I want to know where the gold is. I want the gold. Give me the gold. I want the gold.
This is Brian Johnson, NBC 15 News.
People will do anything for a pot of gold. I mean, anything.
You know what I like? I like the amateur sketch of the leprechaun.
Yeah,
it looks like somebody got a really good look at it and got that good drawing out there.
Who did that? I want to know who sketched that.
I don't know. Maybe Brian sketched it.
Doodling.
That was a good story.
The writing in this is pretty good. The leprechaun says the things that leprechaun says. And there's even some characters alluding to condoms, which is always a positive in my book. I like the update of the characters using their smartphones and how they use their smartphones, because there really are people who would do exactly what those people did in this movie. I completely can see people doing that. I really appreciate how the girls were written to be extremely smart and how they work together to try to defeat the leprechaun, which led me to actually look up who the writer is. And her name is Susan Kelly, and she was one of the writers for Ash vs. Evil Dead. So she's already coming to this with some really great experience. And I can't say enough how happy I was to see female characters written to be smart, to do things that we would do in a horror movie and not just be stupid and trip and the horror tropes that they usually have women do. I also want to add, Susan Kelly did a really good job of keeping the tone the same as the original. I really felt that she respected the source material and still was able to kind of elevate it just a little bit. Going back to what I said about the tone, she kept the comedic tone of the original, but without making it overly campy as the sequels later became. But let's talk about the real star of this movie, and that is the gore. The beautiful, glorious, gorgeous gore. Now let me remind you that us gore connoisseurs, we're not just some sick group of people who just want to see, you know, horrific things on film. We appreciate the artistry and the craft that goes into making these practical effects. What you're seeing on the screen is someone's artwork. By the way, this was directed by Steven Kostanski, who also directed The Void, so you know he has a healthy respect for practical effects and he knows his way around them because he worked in the makeup department on other movies before becoming a director. All in all, this was pretty fun. Warwick Davis is iconic. He will always be the Leprechaun. But Lyndon Porco did his thing. I mean, he really exceeded my expectations. Honestly, this is one of the best sequels in the entire series. This counts to me as a part 7, even though technically it's a part 2. It's doing that thing that Halloween did where it ignores all these sequels and is a direct sequel to just the part 1. But I still am going to make it part 7 in my head because I did enjoy Leprechaun, Leprechaun 2, Leprechaun 3 when he went to Vegas, Leprechaun 4 when he went to space, 5 years before Jason Voorhees went to space. Leprechaun 4 came out in 96 and Jason X came out 2001. So 5 years before that, and then he went to the Hood and then back to the Hood. Wait, I think I counted it wrong. I thoroughly enjoyed Leprechaun, Leprechaun 2, Leprechaun 3 when he went to Vegas, Leprechaun 4 in space, Leprechaun in Hood, then back to Hood. Notice that he went to space before he went to the Hood. I just get a kick out of that. I just think that's hilarious to me. And if you think I'm missing one, I'm not. I will just have a moment of silence for something that happened in 2014 that we're just not going to acknowledge because it was bullshit. So if I didn't mention it, that's for a reason. Anyways, I really enjoyed this new Leprechaun movie. Did you get a chance to see it even though it wasn't promoted anywhere? Let me know your thoughts on it. And let me know your thoughts on releasing this in December instead of in March where it probably should have been released. But like I always say, just because I love something doesn't mean you won't hate it. Just because I hate something doesn't mean you won't love it. Let me know in the comments below. And I am still doing the 12 days of Christmas. I just had to sneak this in before I got to the Christmas movies because they just dropped it on my head. I had no idea that they were gonna just, you know, drop a Leprechaun movie on us like that. So that's all I have to say about that. So I'm gonna end the video because now I'm starting to ramble. And this is what happens when I get out of practice. When I stop recording for a couple weeks and I try to start back up recording, my mouth is just blah 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 blah, and it's not that. All right, so bye.